if there's a person more famous in Portsmouth than Clare Martin, I don't know of one, unless it's some bloke who wrote books that used to live at the bottom of the M271. Can't remember his name right now. But anyway, if I can ask Stuart to hand over to the second love of my life, Clare Martin.
Good afternoon. I had it all sorted what I was going to say. You've sort of thrown me, Steph, so thanks for that. Yeah, my role this afternoon is just really to facilitate some other quite spectacular people in the city. Starting with, I know there's been a lot of questions on the comments. Is there people there from the Hive? Are we going to see anything more about the Hive? Well, you're going to hear more about the Hive. For me, I was at the original discussion where the Hive sort of evolved and became a being. And then in the second day after lockdown was announced, I had a phone call from the Hive saying, you've got a fleet of vans. I guess your lots are working. My staff are generally young and fit and active. And we became the food delivery vehicle, the food storage vehicle, working in partnership with the Hive. And I think when you see something from day one, and then suddenly by day 7, you're delivering 200 food parcels a week, you're procuring stuff, you're collecting from businesses that are having to close. And it comes together in such a seamless way that, you know, every day was almost a buzz with the way the city just meshed and came together. And that was all down to some very special people at the Hive, 2 of which are with us this afternoon. Julie, who works there at the Hive, and Sandy O'Neill, who's a trustee. So welcome both of you.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay? It's Julie Hawkins, Strategic Partnership Lead for Hive.
I can hear you. Hope everybody else can.
Fantastic. And Sandy, can I just make sure you're there in the background with us?
I'm here, Julie. Yes, I'm Sandy.
Fantastic.
Hive.
That's lovely, thank you. Well, I have to start with apologies if anyone was expecting to see Lou Wilders today, who is our Chief Officer. Sandy and I are covering on behalf of Lou this afternoon. The good news about that is you have got 2 for the price of 1, and hopefully Sandy and I can fill you in as we go along. So I wanted to give you a little bit of background. As I say, I'm Julie Hawkins, I'm Strategic Partnership Lead for Hive Portsmouth. Sandy is one of our trustees and also Deputy Chair of our Hive board. For those of you that don't know, Hive Portsmouth is a registered charity in the city, and we work with people and other organisations to improve wellbeing in the city. I can see someone's flashed up on the screen that they can't see me, just to confirm that my video is on. So I'm not quite sure about that, but I'll carry on talking and hope you can hear me even if you can't see me. So as I say, we're a registered charity in the city. We established in December 2018. We secured charitable status in spring 2020. And we've been developing and building upon trusted relationships across the communities of Portsmouth. Over the last year with the pandemic and COVID, we have sought to support vulnerable people in the city to stay safely at home. So before the pandemic really got hold in the UK and England, we observed the infection rate and the impact in other countries. And along with our Hive Board of Trustees and staff, we developed plans to support and provide capacity where we thought it might be needed. So before the pandemic really got hold, we identified agreements, including referral pathways. We looked at data sharing between organisations, and we specifically started a recruitment of volunteers. And we signed off our first agreements between Solent, NHS Trust and the Hive just prior to lockdown. We have been very fortunate throughout the pandemic to have worked closely with Portsmouth City Council, NHS Portsmouth CCG, and the local voluntary community and social enterprise groups. And all of us had that shared vision to help keep people safe. And that shared vision was so important throughout the pandemic. We particularly were tasked really, or took on the role of trying to support those who needed to be shielding, now known as clinically extremely vulnerable. And as Steph mentioned earlier, so we were listening, Steph, we believed that our coordinated response would be much stronger by working together. And that is our whole ethos within Hive, which is where we do build on relationships and existing partnerships across the city. We're very much aware that shielding and self-isolating has not been easy throughout the last year. It's been a really anxious time for many people, and a lot of people have had to make personal sacrifices, and they've shown great resilience and determination in difficult times. Hive Portsmouth led the coordination of the community response, but we only managed to do that because of the many individuals, organisations and businesses in the city who time and again offered their help and support, and we really are appreciative of that. We would like to thank everybody who contributed to the overall effort and showed what can be achieved when we're able to work together without the blockages, without the bureaucracy, which was really refreshing at the time. It reduced barriers, but sharing that single vision, as I mentioned earlier, to help people to remain safe. Despite the difficult circumstances, it was actually amazing to witness firsthand what a huge heart the city has and the tremendous community spirit that exists in the city. And as Claire said in the introduction, just that meshing of everybody coming together was really heartening. So what did we actually do? Well, we started, as I mentioned, by particularly supporting those who were shielding, later extending to people self-isolating with symptoms or due to track and trace. Shielding people were identified through a sort of complex range of national and local identification by NHS England and social care and GPs. And we were notified of 7,500 shielding people in Portsmouth. Working collaboratively with other organisations, and as I say, we were really lucky to have that close working relationship already in place with those 7,500 people were contacted with offers of help and support, and overall we supported 4,500 people with some kind of support during lockdown, and that could have ranged from food parcels, such as Claire described, that Pompey In The Community were heavily involved with, prescription drop-offs and pickups, wellbeing checks, and as we went on, even things like dog walking and delivery of activity packs, which we realised were just as important to people. Working with Portsmouth City Council, we very quickly opened a Hive community helpline, and we leaflet dropped details about this helpline into residential homes within the city. Through the helpline, we have received over 9,500 calls for support during the pandemic to date. At the peak of the first lockdown, it was around 700 calls a week. I would like to just let people know that the helpline does still remain open, and we continue to provide support where needed. The telephone number for the helpline is on our website. We really think that the voluntary and community sector within the city is wonderful. Within Hive Portsmouth, we realised what a thriving voluntary and community sector we had. And working with those valued partners in the sector, we made over 15,000 outbound wellbeing calls to people where they valued a catch up, a chat or a chance to talk. Some other facts and figures, we coordinated, as Claire mentioned, with the food, the delivery of over 3,000 food parcels. And I think Claire will say at its peak, it was around about 500, maybe 600 a week that were being delivered. And over 6,800 hot meals were also delivered. So we do need to send a big thanks to Claire and the volunteers from Pompey In The Community, who along with other volunteers from other local community groups really helped people get the food that they needed when, as I say, they were shielding. And at that time, it was quite hard, if you remember, to get supermarket delivery slots. And again, hard for people if they were not used to the internet and the internet shopping. So we also knew that shielding people were anxious about their medication and prescriptions, and we obviously saw how busy community pharmacies, like the whole health and care sector really, how busy they all were. We linked with Portsmouth City Council and their transport team, and through redeployed staff and more volunteers, we collected and delivered over 4,500 prescriptions to people isolating at home. As I mentioned, we know we've got a thriving voluntary and community sector who are brilliant at what they do, and they have been key to supporting people during COVID-19, and we believe will also be critical as we go on to COVID recovery. Over 900 groups are identified on our Hive Portsmouth Directory of Services, which is again available on our website, and people can look at that for self-help support and broader community support. We're also extremely thankful, and we hadn't worked in this way before, but we're extremely thankful to local businesses who demonstrated their commitment to their city during the lockdown. And we had more than 60 businesses directly supporting the combined efforts with things like food, toiletries, PPE, digital and financial donations, staffing and transport. And I think that is truly amazing when, in despite of their own worries and uncertainties at that time, and many have continued their support. And so again, we continue to be very appreciative of that, and thank you. It felt, if you can cast your memories back to the summer, it kind of felt as though we had a little bit of reprieve in the summer months following the first lockdown, and we were able to do a few more activities. As the infection rate changed, and we concentrated on a national initiative called Journey Makers, where we helped with safe travel back through the city. We helped provide marshals in the city centre for the reopening of shops, and we also opened a school uniform exchange to help families return to school in September with new uniform, or not new but recycled uniform, and we distributed 185 school uniforms in that period. We really benefited from the volunteering effort through the lockdown, and we worked with those volunteers to develop a team of locality coordinators during those months, and they are still in place now and help us with the ongoing demand for food and prescriptions. That is, luckily now, there's less demand for those things than in the first lockdown, as people and services, supermarkets and pharmacies, etc., have all adapted in the way that they support the clinically extremely vulnerable people. So this has actually meant that Hive Portsmouth has also been able to adapt and offer different support. So in more recent months, what else have we done? We've engaged with the Digital Enablement Programme with Shaping Portsmouth, where they have been leading on that. And within our own role, we have developed a small digital library that can help community groups adapt to new ways of working with their regular users. We have supported the development of the Cosham Larder, which will operate on a membership model, and we hope to develop more pantries in the city over the next 12 months, for which, as always, we would be very grateful to hear from anyone, if I can put in a cheeky request, for those who may be able to offer support in any way forward, either through sponsorship or practical support over the next few months. I mentioned the Journey Makers initiative and the reopening of the High Street. We have also started and are currently taking GP referrals for the volunteer delivery of pulse oximeters to clinically vulnerable people in the city. These are people who have COVID-19 positive symptoms, and the pulse oximeters potentially allow for early detection of a change in their condition. From Monday, we will be working with the NHS and Adult Social Care and Carers Centre to offer more intensive well-check calls to people who have been recently discharged from hospital. That's a very worrying time for many people and their carers, and we hope we can give them further support at home and also link them into our network of broader support. So if they do need help with food or prescriptions or ongoing support from the sector, we can make those introductions for them. Despite all of that, our current priority is actually supporting the vaccination programme, the good news story. And as I think Helen mentioned earlier, we have the Solent Vaccination Hub due to be opening very soon. We have coordinated non-medical volunteer support to some of the primary care network vaccination sites already, and we'll be fully supporting the Solent Vaccination Hub. We put out a recruitment campaign for volunteers to specifically help with the vaccination hub, and we were delighted and amazed to have over 600 volunteers in a 4-week period contact us to specifically help with this. And we will be facilitating 19 Hive volunteers per shift for 3 shifts a day when the hub opens. So that is an awful lot of volunteering input to just the vaccination hub. So we'd obviously be welcoming of more volunteers to carry on existing the vaccination programme, which we know will continue for many months. And we would still encourage volunteers to help with business as usual activities as well for community groups, because they will very much need that support going forward, and especially as we do go into COVID recovery. So if you are interested or know anyone that's interested in volunteering, please do get in touch via our Hive Portsmouth website. I think you can all see from what I've said, as I say, I hope you have been able to hear me okay, even if not see me, that we wouldn't have been able to deliver the contribution we've made without the support of those volunteers. And we really want to take the opportunity today for a sincere message of thanks and to recognition for all those volunteers and people that have donated their time and their energy to supporting others. The vaccination hub alone, which I mentioned, will actually equate to 1,800 hours of volunteering per week. So that's 1,800 hours of volunteering per week. That is amazing that we have had that level of volunteering support. Since January 2020, we have had over 3,000 volunteers register with us. So that's in that 1 year period. So within Hive Portsmouth, we believe that it vividly brings to life the huge community spirit within Portsmouth. And it really does make us proud to work within the city and be part of the contribution to the COVID response. And I know that that's a message that Sandy, as I said, as Deputy Chair of Hive Portsmouth, also wants to echo and make today. So over to you, Sandy.
Yeah, we're running quite short, so we've only got a little time, I'm afraid.
Okay, thank you, Claire.
I'll be quick. I'll say absolutely the way the people in Portsmouth supported the Hive and their COVID response has been nothing short of awesome. So many people have put aside their own issues and concerns to step up and to support those in more need. The community spirit in Portsmouth during this time of challenge and uncertainty has been second to none. The work of the Hive has been totally dependent on the generosity and kindness of these volunteers who have really shown us the power of the people of Portsmouth. We cannot thank them enough. Having said all this, we're still going to push our luck and ask you all for more help. As Julie has already mentioned, we particularly need your help with the development of further pantries, like the one we developed in Caution in other areas of Portsmouth. So we're keen to hear from anyone who's willing to offer sponsorship or practical support for this vital project. And if anyone would like to come forward, please do contact us via the Hive website. Thank you.
Thank you both. That's brilliant. And if that doesn't sum up partnership, Steph, and working together, then I don't think anything ever will. Thank you both. Next, I'd like to introduce Roni Edwards. She's worked tirelessly to raise the profile of some of the incredible women we have here in Portsmouth with the annual Inspirational Women of Portsmouth Awards. I was privileged to attend the first one the year before last, and it's fabulous this afternoon to be talking about celebrating, because I don't think we're doing that enough at the moment, and we genuinely still have so much to celebrate in the city. So over to you, Ronnie.
Thank you very much. It's really exciting to wear lipstick. But more to the point, do I have 10 minutes still?
Yeah, we
right,
have.
Brilliant. Okay,
so
talk quickly. So I'm just going to put up a PowerPoint presentation after my excitement with wearing my lipstick. You don't get to see my lipstick. So as an organisation, it's actually a creative interest community interest company, sorry. So we aim to celebrate inspirational stories and collaborate with creatives to challenge, affirm and inspire. And we've got 3 focus areas. We do community projects, and again, very much work in partnership. Pamodzi is a word, it's a Zambian word, it means together. So that's the very heartbeat of what we're doing, is about collaborating and building and celebrating. So this year we've partnered with Hive, again, with our lead project, but also working with Portsmouth City of Sanctuary on a couple of projects. And last year we felt really strongly that we wanted to talk about men's mental health. So we explored doing a men's mental health film project with a couple of creatives, artists within that context. We also do schools work. And last year we worked with 11 artists to just explore how some wellbeing themes with children as part of their transition back into schools last September. We really felt strongly that as artists, we had a role to play within that transition. So we had a project based around PSHE targets and how we could creatively enable that. Our lead project, however, is the Inspirational Women of Portsmouth project. So I just wanted to pause here and just ask you all if you could teach me and help me reflect on who you think is inspirational within Portsmouth. So in your little discussion thread, would you mind, and Claire's going to try and scoop up as many of these as possible, just telling me about who you find inspirational as a woman, and what kind of impact she's making in her community, because it'd be great to hear these stories. So our Inspirational Women of Portsmouth project's got loads of strands to it. We have storytelling projects. The year before, nothing happened last year. The year before, we were very much wanting to work around hearing the voices of marginalised communities. We also have a podcast strand and a blog strand, and just lots of profiling on a weekly basis of who we think is inspirational in the community. And then bolting onto that is an award event. So we felt that actually we wanted to mark International Women's Day with an award, award event, and I'm just going to play a video for you for a couple of minutes that kind of encapsulates it better than I would. My name's Ronnie Edwards, and I run a community interest company called Pamodzi Creatives, and the main heart of that company is to run the Inspirational Women of Portsmouth Awards. The awards themselves only started about a year ago. We felt that actually women from Portsmouth needed to be celebrated more. I can't count how many inspirational women I know personally, and we felt also at the same time that we wanted to celebrate Portsmouth as a city. So in my spare time, I thought we could start an Inspirational Women of Portsmouth Awards. The nomination process has been from the autumn, where we would have this online push to just challenge people. Who inspires you, and why do they inspire you? Let's celebrate them. So even though we only had the 13 categories, we have made sure we've kind of celebrated every single of the 190, 200 people that kind of got put forward. So that's been lovely, because people quietly do these amazing things, and we need to celebrate them every so often. I'm allergic to the word winner, because I feel like actually it's a tribe that we want to celebrate, and this woman happens to be part of this tribe who went, actually, she's amazing because she's done this, this and this. That's what we're celebrating the tribe. Because I'm an artist, I was like, actually, I don't want just an ordinary bog standard award night. I really want it to be a night of celebration creatively as well, and I want it to be about the city of Portsmouth. So I gave myself the extra task of actually having all of those creative elements come in, as well as the award night itself, because my other passion is celebrating the city. The last event we had a fashion show, which had about 6, maybe 7 different local artists showcasing their work. And because I'm an extra diva, I thought we could have a fashion show, or we could have a choreographed fashion show with a dance group. So I invited a dance group, Neptune Girls, to be a part of that, and they choreographed some of that fashion show movement. And then because I'm an extra diva, again, I thought, why don't we have an African dance group, Afrofusion Portsmouth, a university-based dance group, to be kind of do a little flash mob thing. And then I thought, that's not enough, and added a Chinese dance group. So we had, as part of that, it just kind of evolved into not just a celebration of the artists in a city, but also a celebration of all these different cultures. So I go on about it a bit more. But that basically encapsulates a little bit of what my heart was for the awards. Doesn't happen at all without the support of key sponsors and a tribe around it. We've got nominations happening at the moment, actually. We've got nominations in for about just over 210 people, which is brilliant and exciting, and is going to be quite a challenge to go through. And Clare Martin mentioned she's been a trailblazer for a couple of years, which is such a privilege to have her involved. I know she's a really busy lady. And that's basically what I wanted to share with you. I just really feel it's important that we do continue as part of our journey as a city to just keep celebrating these people who sometimes really quietly are making these amazing positive impacts to their community. Claire, have there been anyone actually talk about?
Yeah, there's been a few comments actually, yeah. and one lovely one. A lady with no identity that's buying up lots of food in Cosham and just leaving it outside her house quietly for people to come and help themselves. So somebody's trying and find out. But often those are, I know you and me, you know, we got big voices and and we're quite there in the forefront of things, but it is all those people behind the scenes that just quietly do things for their neighbour, for the person down the road that goes, and they don't do it for anything other than the person that they're serving. And I think that's what's really come from this. It's all the people working together that make it work. But I think the empowerment that you're giving to some of those women that are quiet, that don't come forward, and by those awards, it really empowers them to go on and do more. So yeah, thank you. It's a great thing that happens every year. Well, throughout the year almost now in Portsmouth. So that's great. Thank you, Ronnie.
Yes, thank you very much.
And our last guest this afternoon is Andrew Gibbs. Andrew's going to tell us a little bit more. It's come up a couple of times actually today about the Armed Forces Covenant and their employer recognition scheme, and how everyone can get involved and really help support and provide support for our service personnel moving forward. So over to you, Andrew.
Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me? Everybody okay?
Yep, very good, Andrew.
As Claire said, I'm Andrew. I'm one of the Regional Employer Engagement Directors for the South East Reserve Forces and Cadets Association. Our primary role is to deliver employer, civil and community engagement for the forces, and to deliver support to reserve units and cadets units around the southeast of the UK. We are probably the biggest region with regards RFCA. There are 13 throughout the UK, and the southeast is the biggest and the busiest. With regards Hampshire and Portsmouth, yeah, you're a shining light with regards signatories for the Armed Forces Covenant, and those that have been awarded the Employer Recognition Scheme from the Defence. I'll give you some figures now. At the moment, across Hampshire, there are 15 gold award holders, and 24 silver award holders and 121 bronze. And in total, we have 245 Armed Force Covenant signees in Hampshire. 40 of those are listed within the Portsmouth city area. So Portsmouth is doing really well. And Portsmouth has a couple of what I call my top-notch gold award holders, which is Portsmouth City Council. And last year, QA Hospital picked up their award. They have a fantastic team of people up there that support the military community, especially the veterans, and they have a specific person up there who is in quite a unique role as a lead nurse and veterans aware supporter and director. We've done quite well, even though COVID's been going on in the region. There are across the southeast there are 800 AFC holders, and in the last 12 months, believe it or not, we've had 173 in businesses, employers, etc., signing up to the Armed Forces Covenant, which is quite phenomenal, really, considering where we are at the moment. If you, as an employer, as a business, a charity, it doesn't matter what you are, you could be a single entity, you can sign the Armed Forces Covenant, and the covenant itself is a pledge, basically a promise that you are willing to support the Armed Forces community. And when I talk about the community, I'm to a degree we talk about the regulars, but we are more engrossed with looking after the reservists, the cadets, and spouses, and the veterans. But anybody can sign the Armed Forces Covenant, and it's my job to take you through it. If you want to join, if you wanted more information on the covenant, you can get in touch with me. I'm sure Stuart will give you my contact details. And likewise, if you do sign an Armed Forces Covenant, then as an employer, you can go forward and apply for the award scheme. And the awards, the ERS itself is created to encourage employers to support defence and to inspire others to do the same. And that's a big part of getting the awards, is the advocacy side of it and encouraging other employers to join into the programme. With regards getting the awards, bronze awards you can apply for yourself. That can apply any time of year, but we only hold a window of opportunity open for silver and gold awards once a year, and it's currently open. We've been open 2 weeks, and we are already in Southeast. We're all doing really well with employers expressing their interest in joining the ERS program. Again, it's my job for you, as regards to people that are in Portsmouth and in Hampshire. I am your contact. So any information that you wish, if you're interested at all in signing up to the covenant and then progressing on to the Armed Forces, the Employer Recognition Scheme, I'm your person. That's it, Claire. That's all I have to say.
Okay, yeah, and I know we've got Alison Lee here who achieved Bisco's achieved their gold last year.
Alison is wonderful because she turns up trumps. She came to our silver award ceremony, not 2020 because we had to do a virtual one, but in 2019 that was the first one that I was the project manager for, and Alison came along and talked to the new award winners that year, and she's a trooper, really is. And
she's just volunteered on the comments to support anybody who would like to sort of hear firsthand what it's like as a business going through that process.
That's great. And she is one of our mentors. She is a go-to person. So thank you, Alison.
Oh, that's brilliant. Well, thank you. It's fascinating. I know the football club were, and it slipped a bit. So I will do what I can to encourage ourselves and the football club to come back on board, because it is such an important thing as a naval city for us to do that.
Yes, it's great. It's great that people are out there and they are wanting to support. And as I said, Hampshire is rich. It is one of the most prominent counties in the UK with regard to supporting the armed forces community. It is fantastic, and it's easy for me, even though I've got an awful lot of accounts. I've got 1,400 accounts in Hampshire that I sort of look after and manage. But it's easy when people are that engaging and want to be part of it. So yes, I'm here to help anybody.
Well, lovely, and I hope you'll be inundated with inquiries after this. So that's.
Oh, great. I really hope so. I really do. Thank you.
That's fabulous. Thank you, Andrew. And finally, we've talked this afternoon a lot about partnerships, working together. The third thing was ambitious, and that's what I'd like to move on to now. I've got a couple of minutes to just share a little ambitious project that we're doing now. Hopefully you can see that now. We've been working over the last year or so with the Football Foundation, with the Supporters Trust from the Football Club, from the City Council of Moneyfields, to put together and create a brand new community hub in the city. It's approximately a £5 million project, and so trying to raise that sort of money during this year of all years has been challenging. With the support of a lot of organisations and bids, we've managed to get to just over £4 million. So we've got about £900,000 to go, which we will do because we have to. I think coming out of COVID, it's going to be so important. You know, people think, oh, Pompey in the community, they do football, but we're there to serve the whole community. We do a phenomenal amount of open access for young people. So, you know, keeps them off the streets, keeps them on the straight and narrow, keeps them motivated and engaged. You know, projects for older people, walking football. It's not just walking football. It's that wrap around with the coffee afterwards where you talk to your mates and find some outlet for your frustrations. Our dementia projects where, you know, Pompey fans, the only thing that re-engages them is hearing the Pompey chimes that brings them back to that time when Pompey were, you know, thriving at the top of the league. We run projects for the homeless and engaging them through sport. The only thing we haven't got is anywhere to kick a ball or to really host these activities. So this is the plan. The Football Foundation have come on board with £2 million towards the project. We've got all sorts of other support from the Supporters Trust, the City Council. And what I'd like to do now is invite any businesses or any organisations or anybody in the city who'd like to be a part of this exciting venture. It's about a year's build, and we're hoping to start in the next couple of months. The site is being gifted the freehold to Pompey in the community by the developers who are building houses on the 1 acre where the buildings are currently. So it's a really, really exciting time as a charity. You know, my kids play, Pompey in the community, youngsters teams play their home matches in Alton because there's nowhere to play. A recent study said by the Football League said there are 7 pitch deficit in Portsmouth. If we built 7 of these pitches, youngsters and older people, everybody would fill them 7 times over. So it's vital. So I've put my contact details on the top of the screen, my mobile number there. So if there's anybody who'd like to get involved in any way and build something great out of the heritage of this year, then let me know. Oh, I'm getting a bit teary. And and thank you all. It's been a pleasure to host such inspirational people this afternoon, and a pleasure to be part of a conference that just encapsulates everything that's great about our fabulous city. So thank you.
Claire, thank you very much indeed. Excellent, thank you. And again, definitely get STAR, partnership, together, and ambition. You got all three, you nailed it, as you always do. Thank you, good luck.
Great, there we go.
Good luck for raising those last few pennies and pounds, because I think I can see in the chat box, everybody just knows how vital it is to the city. So congratulations to you, and thank you for hosting that informative session.